Alright, let's take a look at every Premier League club's best player and rate their debuts for the club out of 10. Arsenal, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 8 out of 10. This was the game that made Arsenal fans fall in love with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The club won 5-1 against Sam Allardyce's Everton in February 2018, with Aaron Ramsey scoring a hat-trick and Aubameyang putting them 3-0 up on 37 minutes. Very good debut. Aston Villa, Jack Grealish, 2 out of 10. Oh, Jack Grealish's debut, my favourite player of all time. Honest. This was back in the day when he was getting smashed on the Magaluf pavements. It was against Man City back in May 2014 when he came on for Ryan Bertrand in the 88th minute. It was probably a substitution which kept Paul Lambert up that night, and then for the rest of the week, considering Villa still found time to concede 2 more goals in injury time and lose 4-0. Honestly, Grealish was realising his boyhood dream, making his way onto the pitch, only to watch his side concede 20 seconds later. And then another one 2 minutes after that. Bournemouth, Callum Wilson, 9 out of 10. Yes, last season Callum Wilson went on to score a hat-trick against Huddersfield in a 4-0 win, but in August 2014, he had to settle for just 2 in his debut. Again in a 4-0 win at Huddersfield. It was August 2014 and Wilson looked sharp, hungry. The best possible start for a man who went to net 20 goals that season. Brighton, Leandro Trossard, 8 out of 10. There was a lot of pressure on Leandro Trossard's shoulders this summer. On what planet do Brighton ever spend 18 million quid on one player? But hey, the club record signing got off to a great start, banging home 1 in his debut against West Ham, a 1-1 draw, and he could have even won the game, seeing another strike ruled out by VAR. He looked bright and was a menace to the West Ham backline throughout. Burnley, James Tarkowski, 7 out of 10. You know what? Burnley don't quite have a standout star player. It's still a bit early to proclaim Dwight McNeil as the best, so I'm going to go with James Tarkowski, a fella who nearly made Leicester blow 40 million quid due to sheer goddamn panic. His debut was in February 2016, coming up from Michael Keane, who was forced off with a head injury. When is he not? It was a standard 2-0 win over Rotherham with minimum fuss, and I guess Tarkowski did well. Then again, it was an afternoon of marking Danny Ward. That's like making sure the turtle doesn't escape the zoo. You could do it half asleep. Chelsea, N'Golo Kante, 7 out of 10. Yeah, now that Eden Hazard is gone, N'Golo Kante is without doubt the greatest player at Stamford Bridge. Then again, the lad is so damn humble, he probably doesn't think he's better than Mason Mount. His debut was on the first day of the season back in August 2016, helping Chelsea to a very late 2-1 win over West Ham at Stamford Bridge. It was a solid enough start for him, although he should probably have been sent off after dragging his size 8s down the back of Dimitri Payet's leg. Crystal Palace, Wilfried Zaha, 5 out of 10. There's no other player in the Premier League who has such a disparity in quality between them and their teammates, except maybe Scott Carson at Man City for very different reasons. But Zaha knows this. You can see how disgusted he is by the fact that he's 27 and stuck in a team with James McArthur. Well, guess what, Zaha? How about don't sign a 5-year contract last summer, eh? His first debut for Palace came back in March 2010 when he was just 17 years old, coming on for Stern John to play the last 10 minutes of a 2-1 home defeat to Cardiff City. The lad touched the ball about twice, but I suppose it's hard to make an impact when you're relying on service from Neil Dens. You can't expect to be disappointed when you don't manage to grab an assist from him. It's Neil Dens. It's like getting upset at not getting a nice breakfast after you've just tried to cook toast in a blender. Still though, despite an anonymous debut, Zaha had the world at his feet. If you told him he'd still be at the club 10 years later, he'd probably have shot himself in the face. Everton, Richarlison, 9 out of 10. I'll be honest, when Everton chucked 40 million quid at Richarlison back in the summer 2018, a fellow who just scored 5 goals on the wing the previous season, and who had spent the final few months of the campaign playing like a dead badger, I laughed. I wasn't laughing when he scored twice in his debut, grabbing an impressive double strike in a 2-2 draw at Wolves on the opening day of the season. Leicester, James Maddison, 7 out of 10. You might remember this game as being the one where the world finally woke up and realised that Luke Shaw might actually be back. Having been lauded as a donut-eating Fred Flintstone lookalike who needed to be coached through every clearance by his goddamn manager that previous season. He netted the winner over Leicester in this 2-1 win at Old Trafford on the opening night of last season. James Maddison played an hour before being dragged off after 63 minutes. He did well though. He caused the United defence problems all night. He just couldn't make it count. Still a decent enough performance. Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk, 9 out of 10. You don't get a much better debut for Liverpool than this. Virgil van Dijk has spent the week being forced to put up with every dog and its mother, including myself, saying that Liverpool had essentially chucked their wallet into a shredder when they paid out 75 million quid for a lad who'd recently been playing week in, week out up in Scotland. And then he puts in a masterclass against Everton at home in the Cup, scoring a late-headed winner with 6 minutes to go to firmly ram the words back down every doubter's throat. Man City, Kevin De Bruyne, 8 out of 10. You have to go all the way back to September 2015 for the debut of Kevin De Bruyne, which might not seem that long ago, but it was a game where Kelechi Iheanacho was scoring a last-minute winner at Sellers Park and being held up as the next big thing. Considering his career is now stuck halfway down a toilet bowl somewhere out the West Midlands, I'm guessing it feels quite long ago to you now. Yeah, it was a last-gasp 1-0 win at Crystal Palace with De Bruyne replacing Sergio Aguero after 25 minutes and impressing throughout the match, presenting Jesus Navas with a one-on-one chance. But it was Jesus Navas. That's like heading to the urinal with Oscar Pistorius. You know it's not going to end well. Man United, Jesse Lingard, 10 out of 10. Undoubtedly absolutely world-class star Jesse Lingard, the greatest player at Manchester United, not only now, but possibly of all time, made his debut under Louis van Gaal at the age of 21 and looked every inch. Okay, no, don't worry. Cease the meltdowns. I haven't taken a fall, don't worry. Let me do this properly. Man United, David De Gea, 2 out of 10. See, isn't that better if all concerned? Sorry, Jesse, but you have the natural ability of a block of cheese. David De Gea didn't look much better when he first arrived, though. A £90 million arrival from Atletico Madrid, he got off to a damn shaky start. It was the Community Shield in August 2011, and City were 2-0 up at half-time, and De Gea was showing all the reflexes of a dead cat. Julian Lescott's weak header ended up in the back of the net for Edin Dzeko's long-range effort, which wouldn't have beaten my nan, and she's been dead since 1987, also making the net bulge. For his own sake, De Gea was lucky his teammates were able to rally and score 3 in the second half, because Jesus Christ, he looked about as composed as True Geordie in Instagram DMs. Newcastle, Fabian Schär, 4 out of 10. It's hard to pick a best player for Newcastle. It's like trying to pick your favourite bounty when they all taste like rotted cardboard. I'm going to go with Fabian Schär though, a decent centre half who actually had a bit of a nightmare on his debut. Back in August 2018, he lined out in a 2-1 home defeat to Chelsea, conceded a penalty before being dragged off 3 minutes later. Not a great start. Norwich, Teemu Pukki, 6 out of 10. Teemu Pukki was always a surprising signing for Norwich, considering he looked out of his depth in Scotland, but he could well be this club's greatest signing of all time. He played the entire 90 minutes in a crazy 2-2 draw at Birmingham in August 2018. He didn't score, but he looked alright. Sheffield United, Callum Robinson, 7 out of 10. Sheffield United don't have a standout player, so I'll just go for Callum Robinson, who started the season quite well. His debut for the Blades was the full 90 minutes in a 1-1 draw at Bournemouth on the opening day of the season, where he caused all sorts of problems. Southampton, Nathan Redmond, 8 out of 10. Southampton's best player, probably Nathan Redmond, and yeah, he scored a goal in his debut, banging home an equaliser to rescue Southampton a point at home to Watford in August 2016. As far as debuts go, it was pretty good. Tottenham, Harry Kane, 3 out of 10. Right, I'm gonna have to go all the way back to August 2011 to scrape out Harry Kane's debut for Spurs. Back then, he was just an awkward looking 18-year-old portly man-child who, honest to God, just looked like another average lump soon to be released. For Christ's sake, his only experience of senior football was a few games for Leyton Orient down the back of League One. A future Golden Boot winner? Not a chance. But yeah, his debut was a goalless draw at home to Hearts in the Europa League qualifying rounds. Considering Spurs had just won the first leg 5-0, Harry Redknapp could have played his own mother up front and they'd still have gone through. So not exactly a risk when he handed the number 37 shirt to Big Hazake. He won a penalty, but he also missed it. If you're not scoring from 12 yards against Jamie McDonald, a low athletics finest, then really you have no future in the game. Well, looks like I got that one violently wrong. Watford, Abdoulaye Doucouré, 4 out of 10. I'm going to go with Abdoulaye Doucouré as Watford's best player. I sure as sugar am not choosing a Watford defender after last week. By rights, at least half those lads should now be working down the dole or setting up YouTube channels. It's the same difference. Doucouré's debut came back in August 2016 when he played out the final 6 minutes in a 2-1 home defeat to Chelsea. He was on the pitch long enough to see Diego Costa score the winner, so not great. West Ham, Felipe Anderson, 3 out of 10. Felipe Anderson is West Ham's new Dimitri Payet, although not quite as good. Still though, he's a top player who got off to a disastrous start, lining out in a 4-0 opening day defeat at Anfield. It really took that lad a while to get going at West Ham. Wolves, Ruben Neves, 7 out of 10. It seems strange to see Ruben Neves, a lad who traded the captaincy at a Champions League club for the second tier of English football, lining out at 20 years of age against the Middlesbrough in the Championship. It was early August 2017, and Wolves' sparkling new recruit was pulling the strings, with the home fans having to pinch themselves every 10 minutes. I suppose it is like Boris Johnson being able to get Kim Kardashian to move in with him. Despite clearly having a face like a foot, Wolves were clearly punching above their weight.